Money doesn't just come from one place. It drips, trickles, flows, and floods into our lives in different ways. Welcome to Drip, Trickle, Flow, Flood, a podcast that explores the power of multiple income streams. We've got merch. That's right. Drip, Trickle, Flow, Flood t-shirts are officially here, and they're as comfy as they are conversation starting. Grab yours at the link in our show notes. Hey, Tony, how you doing today?
Good. How are you?
How I'm good. It is a very gloomy day here
Well,
because
yeah, I'm waiting. The river is rising, and
oh,
we'll see if we get stuck. We're surrounded by rivers, so we could end up on this island. Right now, our daughter is on the other side of the island.
oh no.
I think we're actually gonna get to the other side of where it floods, and we're gonna go to local basketball game, and then I have practice, and then if we can't get back home, we're gonna bring a bag of clothes with us in case we need to find somewhere to bunk up, because I don't know. But anyways, it's not new. Fortunately, we're lucky that we can get trapped, but our house is in a good spot. Other people, it's can be a little more serious.
Yes, where my husband was supposed to go today. That's exactly what happened.
Oh,
Apparently,
yeah.
he was supposed to meet. Their whole place flooded. So that meeting was canceled. So we live in
Yeah.
a very beautiful place, but sometimes you have to deal with flooding.
Yeah, and whenever anybody's, oh, it never stops raining here, which that's true for some of the months, but I just say that's why it's so beautiful and green here.
It's true. If you
Oh,
want the green,
yeah.
you got to take the flood. And not the flood in Drip, Trickle, Flow, Flood, which is the good
Right.
flood.
Yeah.
All
Yeah,
right.
maybe that's part of what gave the inspiration for all of this, was being surrounded by so much water.
Maybe that is why you came up with this, because you were flooded out of your home
Subconscious.
so many times and you wanted a positive spin on it.
Yeah.
All right. So we have, I'm not so sure it's a fun topic, but I guess it's a timely topic.
It's a fun approach to the topic.
So this all came from an article that Tony sent over to me. And the article stemmed from the movie Home Alone, which is basically on, I know it's on repeat in my house right now. I don't know if it's on repeat in your house, but we love watching that movie. And in that movie, there is a scene where Kevin takes himself to the grocery store because, remember, his family all left, so he's by himself. And so he has to buy himself some groceries for his time alone at home. And when he checks out, he buys milk. I pulled it up. He buys milk, bread, toilet paper, laundry detergent, dryer sheets, cling wrap, macaroni and cheese, and a TV dinner. And it
And
costs,
some plastic army men, right?
oh yeah, and the plastic army man. With that, it cost $19.83. And how much would that cost today?
Given the time of year and the fact that we love this movie, I thought it was a very interesting time to have a chat about inflation and start off with the groceries. And everybody's always talking about how expensive everything is right now, which that's for sure. So I don't exactly know where you want to go with this, Melissa, but I did nerd out a little bit, and I went down the list of a bunch of different things and discovered what the inflation rate was
Oh,
since 1990 and 2025.
okay. Let's go through that. That's interesting.
Okay, so the inflation rate, if you call it $19 to $72, and there was some rounding in there, but that's 3.96% annual inflation rate. So almost 4% on those groceries. A median house in 1990 was $122,000, $122,900. Today, median house is $410,800. And then that's a 3.65% annual inflation. Gas 116, now 357, 3.48%. A pound of ground coffee, $4.97. Now it's $4.06. That's only a little over 1% inflation on coffee. A Big Mac went from 220 to 550. That's back at that 3.65. A large pizza. So there's a large pizza that went up by about 3%, but they ordered 10 pizzas in the movie for 122.50.
I forgot about the pizzas.
And that today in 2025 would cost 299.88
Ooh.
for a 3.12% inflation rate. And then given the
Ooh.
time of year, a Christmas tree in 1990, 34.50. 2025, $116, which is a 3.65% inflation rate. Now, I will say that ours costs less than that this year. I think it was like $70 or something. I think the proximity to the evergreens is helping us on that front.
Yeah, probably.
And then an interesting one was a can of Coke, and I asked it multiple times because I wasn't sure, but a can of Coke in 1990 was 60 cents, and a can of Coke
Okay.
today is 57 cents. If you're buying a 12 pack, it actually went down in price.
Wow.
Yeah.
I wonder if that's based on the like a topic of conversation around food generally is that the quality
Yeah.
was better years ago. And as like ingredients became more expensive, they were treating them out for much cheaper ingredients. So interesting though that went down and the McDonald's burger or Big Mac went up
Yeah.
when they
And
would fall in that same
but
space.
yeah, and most stuff is in kind of that similar price range. The homes, the Christmas trees, and the Big Mac were all 3.65%. Now, it doesn't sound like a lot each year. The Fed tries to target 2% inflation. So obviously we've been at average since 1990, quite a bit ahead of that on all of these things, except for coffee and a can of Coke. But it can lead us into a deeper conversation about money is you're essentially losing between 3 and 4% buying power each year based off of the inflation that's been happening. If your money's in the bank right now and you can get three, I think the Fed just did another cut today
I
as
just
we're
saw it on my
recording
Apple
this.
News.
So it's probably going to be down to you're getting max 3 to 3.25 on your money. So if inflation is actually between 3 and 4%, that means if your money's in the bank, you're at best breaking even, and potentially that money is losing buying power each year if you're getting that rate of return.
Yeah. So that absolutely affects when people are planning for retirement. That's for sure.
Yeah,
It creates
yeah,
a lot of anxiety.
yeah, 100% when you're looking at it. So, if you want to be, that's why often you're trying to target at least 5% with your money, if not up closer to 10% return, which is what the stock market will often tell you're going to get. But so it does. There's two ways to look at it. One, right? It's how you invest your money. It's where you invest your money, but it's also as you're looking into the future. And if you're going to live off of those investments, you need to consider that inflation into that plan as well. And as you're earning, you need to factor in how long you're going to be earning for and how much. And do you need some other trickles and flows to go along with that retirement plan, or just to keep saving at the same rate that you want to if inflation is going to go up. And now this is obviously a very specific snapshot because it's 2025 and that's the year the movie came out. If you took different snapshots, this may be slightly different. We've had a lot of inflation in the last 5 years. So if you did this in 2019 versus 19, that average rate of inflation maybe is smaller. I haven't done that. And obviously, this is also just a snapshot of certain items. It's not everything.
There's also an interesting conversation around this when it comes to small businesses too. We're seeing this a lot where we are locally. Restaurants are closing left and right here. I'm sure that's the case in other spaces too. but particularly where we are, it just seems every day another restaurant has announced it's closing its doors, and they just can't make it work anymore with the rising food prices. I think with that, and it's something that we've talked about a number of times on this podcast, is like starting to think, and it's tough in some businesses to do this, but like, how can you create a drip, trickle, flow, flood within your business? Are there other ways or other streams of revenue? An example is there's a restaurant here that it either is closing its doors or it has. I'm not 100% sure, but it's happening soon if it hasn't. And then they also sell a product on the side. So they like manufacture a product in-house and they sell it. And so it's too expensive to keep the restaurant doors open and be servicing customers. But apparently it's not as expensive to produce this product and sell it. They can sell it across the nation. It can be shipped out. So they're actually morphing their business into that. So I thought that was like an interesting twist. And maybe it doesn't make sense to keep our restaurant doors open anymore, but we can still stay in business just in this new direction.
Yeah, and I think that's having I don't know, the willingness to shift your business and make changes to adapt to whatever the current economic climate is. Some people say, this is my business and this is what I want to do, and this is the only way I'm going to do it. And that's fine if that's how you want to operate, but it can be limiting. Where there are a lot of restaurants now that I go in there and they don't have table service anymore. So they've chose to cut the labor side of things, and someone's still cooking for you, but you're bussing your own table and doing that sort of thing. And so it is, yeah, how businesses evolve in times like these. And it'll continue to change, right? Right now, yeah, like we've had a lot of inflation and people are really feeling it. Maybe it'll swing back different than that at some point. Maybe people will have more interest in eating out and be willing to pay more. But right now, when people are feeling pinched, that's a spot where they're cutting. Although sometimes when I go to the grocery store, sometimes I don't feel like I spend any less than if I would have gone out.
Oof, yes.
You really have got to pay attention to what you're buying. And
Mhm.
yeah, and I think this is being felt across the country. I did read something that Washington is the most expensive state to eat out in, which
Mm.
shocked me. I would have picked probably Hawaii or California or something to pick. That would be the
Well, it's
most expensive.
definitely cheaper in California, I can tell you that.
Yeah,
I
you were
just
down
came
there recently. Yeah.
I just came back from there. No, again, that's gonna depend on where you are.
Yeah.
If you're going to some Michelin-starred restaurant in Napa, then of course not. But no, I was just in Los Angeles and it was way cheaper. We ordered out like Uber Eats or DoorDash, I think, a couple times, and yeah, it was probably half the price that it is here when we Uber Eats here or something.
So
For good food, for quality.
yeah.
It's not like we were ordering Domino's or something, like actually like good, healthy food.
Okay. We're not getting a Domino sponsorship.
Yeah. I'm all about that, but that's what you can get it for cheap, and you know it's gonna be about the same price. So
um,
Domino's, we're happy to support you.
so how are you seeing inflation impact your world? Are you like your
Yeah.
books that you're selling? I feel like when I go to buy a book now, I have not raised the price on my book, mainly because I want people to buy it. But have you raised your prices? Obviously, your cost of living has gone up, and I'm assuming that Amazon or whoever's distributing your book isn't just giving you a higher cut out of the kindness of their heart. How are you dealing with that?
Yeah, there's 2 ends to my business with, like, book writing and screenwriting, so we'll tackle book writing first. So, with book writing, I don't really focus on selling print copies, and I never have, to be honest. I've done it in the past. Anytime I've wanted to really make money on it, I will get the books printed myself and do, like, special editions that are signed copies where I can chart and put little swag in there, like stickers and things like that, where I can charge a premium price for that so that margin increases. Otherwise, the margins are just so slim. Now, I did actually raise the price of my print books just because the fulfillment of those print books on both Amazon and Ingram Spark, which are two places that can distribute your print books for you, their prices went up. So they were, of course, they're passing that along to the customer, which in this case is me. So I did need to raise it. However, like I said, I really don't focus on that. For my book business, I sell everything in Amazon Kindle Unlimited, which means my goal is always to target people who subscribe to that service and who read a large number of books every month. And so they are all getting they're getting those books on their Kindle Unlimited membership. So they read on e-readers, whether that's their phone or their actual Kindle or their iPad or something like that. So that's always been my strategy, frankly. So for me, it really has not affected me at all because that's always been my strategy to focus on digital versus focusing on print.
So
And good.
so with the digital, but your compensation hasn't. Can you adjust that or Amazon sets that?
So in the Kindle Unlimited program, your compensation is set by how many people are subscribed to that service in any given month. So you are paid out by page reads and you're paid out a percentage of that. And then that percentage is variable. So if Amazon has like a huge, let's say all of a sudden, all these people leave Amazon and they don't want to do Kindle Unlimited anymore, that's all going to pass along to the author, right?
Yeah.
So, of course, that's risky from the author's side to do that. Now, there are other platforms you can sell on, though, that are not Amazon, if that's the case. And we can cross that bridge when we get to it. But for now, that's how I'm paid out. Now, am in a business of writing. I write under a pen name, I write short stories, and I have a very specific way that I release books so that, like, I'm constantly compounding those page reads so that my income goes up every month. So again, it's just a strategy.
Yeah.
It's just a strategy and it's in the type of books that I write that it's specific to. That's not to say that other authors are not feeling the hit of inflation and people maybe not reading as much or just deciding they want to go to the library, which all those things are wonderful too. But maybe people are investing less in those things. I just haven't seen it because I chose a path
Yeah.
that
So
I
with the
knew
route, they
wouldn't be
have their
affected.
subscription, they're doing it.
Yeah.
And a lot of the things that are causing inflation probably isn't hitting the digital world as much as the physical world.
They say, like, in times of economic distress, people turn to romance and they
Hmm.
turn to pop music. So
Interesting.
so I figured if I chose one of those, it would be great. And I get that feedback from readers too. I get loads of messages. Gary and I read them all the time of people that are just like, this is my escape.
And probably booze too, right? During when COVID
Maybe.
hit, I went on and bought Coors Originals or Coors stock because I was like, people are probably still going to be sitting at home buying beer.
I would think so, absolutely. Now, I don't know enough about that industry to know how I'm sure they've been affected by inflation. But yes, but like absolutely, if people are staying home more often, then yeah, they might be more apt to pick up a 12 pack or something, or six pack, 24 pack, whatever they want to drink. And then in the film industry, things honestly really never recovered from COVID there, which we don't have to go too deep into, but things are more expensive. So making anything nowadays is more expensive than it was to make things in previous years for a whole variety of reasons. So one of them being inflation and things just generally being more expensive, catering on set, equipment, right? Equipment rentals, all those things, locations. Everything's more expensive now. But also COVID protocols were like on top of that, and that sort of shifted how things are done on set. So there's a number of reasons. So that just means less things are being made. However, things are still being made. So I just approach that side of my business as I don't try not to get caught up in all of the conversation. Yes, I know less things are being made. Yes, you want to be aware, but you also don't want to say, ooh, nothing's being made. That means I'm not going to try. Or just constantly having that excuse because the truth is things are still being made. It might be less, but they are still. And because I have a drip, trickle, flow, flood, thanks, Tony, for that great framework of this. Because I have that and I've had that for a number of years and I don't rely on that income solely, it's been fine for me that I don't have to like jet out of the industry or leave the industry and pursue something else because we are in slower times. I'm able to still pursue that fully because I have income coming in other ways. And yes, I'm still working in that industry, so it hasn't slowed down there. What
Yeah, and so
about you?
what about me?
What about your business? Business says.
Yeah, it's been interesting. I saw some booms in construction and real estate in during COVID, after COVID, and really things have been on a pretty steady climb since 2011.
Mhm.
Now, I think if you look at this, the median home price is actually, if you look at over the 20 or the 35 years since the movie came out, it's all flushed out where the averages are pretty close. But I think that like the home world actually saw a lot of this inflation first. And that drove a lot of this other inflation. I'm feeling it more now. For a while, it was really good for me. The inflation was because it was happening in a way that kind of benefited me. I haven't seen inflation in rental prices. They aren't leaping up anymore. Things have tapered off, or not tapered off, but plateaued. And then now I feel like everything else in the world kind of inflation has caught up. And so it's been interesting feeling it more recently. I will say in other aspects of my life, my freelance writing pay has all gone up. Those rates have gone up with inflation. And I can't remember who exactly said this. Maybe it was Jess, but ask what you're worth and those sorts of things in a previous podcast. I'm not good at doing that. I tend to just say, okay, what does this piece pay? And they pay me for it, whatever they say. But I have seen that go up. And so and I think that wages are catching up a little bit as inflation has slowed in the last year-ish, maybe 18 months. Inflation has slowed a little bit. It'll be interesting to see what happens with the Fed cutting rate. This is getting into deeper economics a little bit, but with the Fed cutting rates, that potentially could lead to more inflation. Now, the reality is with our national debt, the only way to slow that down, aside from spending less and making some big sacrifices as a country, is you lower that interest rate. That will lower the interest payments on that national debt. The other way to beat that thing into submission is to have inflation. And if the deficit isn't going up at the same rate and inflation, then essentially that debt shrinks. So as much as everybody says they don't want inflation and the government says they don't want inflation and all the politicians say they want everything less expensive, we do have this national debt problem that inflation does actually help. So it's an interesting dichotomy there of I tend to think we're going to keep seeing inflation with just the level of debt that not just the national debt, but individual debt. And then I do think that banks really want these interest rates to get low enough to a point where people will start moving. We're seeing a lot of people not moving because they have these low interest rates in their houses. And so they want to hold on to those. I don't know how low they have to get, but at some point, someone's going to say, okay, it's worth me selling this house, moving, whatever. And my new interest rate won't be double. It'll be a little higher, but not as much. So I do think the banks want to see that happen because they want to get rid of those 2.5% loans that they have out there. There's a lot of factors that go into inflation, and Kevin McCallister was great at documenting a point in time here for us.
I feel like we should go back through all the Christmas movies, like even before that, be like,
I
how
think that, oh
expensive were
man, okay, so
things?
maybe for the next year we'll do that. We'll find pricing
Yeah.
in other spots. I like the world's greatest cup of coffee in Elf. I don't know if there was a price associated with that.
Oh, yeah. Or we
Uh,
could go, like, way back, like, in It's a Wonderful Life. Was
oh
anything
yeah,
if there was something in there, did they buy milk or
yeah.
a new
Well,
thing
and even
then?
think of this: the Christmas Story. He buys the tree, right, and then he throws in the rope to tie it to the roof. And yeah, okay. Next year. All right, listeners, get excited for next year. We're gonna go deep into this.
That'll be, like, a fun project.
It'll be a
We
fun
can
project, and it'll be really interesting to see now that we're giving everybody this warning, whether the graph on listening to that episode is going to go up or down.
like, we give up. No, I think there's gonna be so much excitement for that. I think that's a cool thing to look back through time
Yeah, and,
and
and and just exploring that and understanding that these things are normal, they're
Mhm.
consistent.
Yeah.
Inflation is going to just keep happening. Things are going to keep becoming more expensive, and you just have to plan for it. Whether that's the amount you save, how you save, where you invest, if you create different income streams. And I've probably said this on the show a lot. I know my daughter's heard it a lot, but at the end of every G.I. Joe episode, they said they would teach you something, and they'd say, knowing's half the battle. And I think that's it, right? If you understand that
Yeah.
you're competing against 3 to 4% inflation, you've got to be earning and investing in a way that is accounting for that. And maybe you're in an industry or a business that can benefit, that your income can go up with that inflation, and hopefully you're getting raises associated with that and those sorts of things. But that money that's sitting, if it's just sitting in your mattress, it's been losing 3 to 4% a year since 1990. So,
Get it out of that mattress.
the
Yeah.
mattress.
Get it into something. Bonds, the market, T-bill, maybe no T-bills anymore.
Yeah, I know I know that Gary was into that. My brother was into that. I know that is sliding with every rate cut.
Yeah, it's back. We're like back to the market. But yes, that's a great point. It's just having a job for that, not put it in your mattress because then it is losing, but giving those dollars a job and something that's going to account for that inflation because we know it's here and we have a giant history to prove it.
Yeah.
We can look back through Christmas movies and other things to
Yeah.
see that it has always been the case.
Yeah. And the reality is deflation is bad and has its own
Yeah.
host of problems. We're not going to dive into that, but some inflation is part of a healthy economy.
Yes. All right, everybody. Happy holidays and enjoy your Christmas movies. I hope that you enjoyed this episode as well and get excited for next year when we really deep dive into past Christmas movies and what things cost. If you enjoyed this episode, please rate and review it on your favorite podcast platform. And with that said, we'll see you next time on Drip Trickle Flow Flood. Thanks, everybody.